I went on a business trip to another place on the eve of the wedding. My fiancée, Mia, actually held a Chinese-style wedding with her first love, William, who was in the late stage of urea in the flower garden I built. She leaned in William's arms and cried emotionally. According to the ancient saying, "Since I married you first, I am your wife." Even if Ethan forced me to get the marriage certificate, he will never get my love. With the blessings of my parents and sister, they drank the cross-cuffed wine and slept in the bridal chamber that I shared with Mia. That night, William sent a photo of the bloodstains on the bedsheet and captioned it, "You gave me your most precious thing tonight." I silently gave it a thumbs up and turned around to cancel the wedding venue. From the age of 15 to 28, I had been Mia's lapdog for 13 years. But in her heart, there was still only room for William, my adoptive brother. Since that was the case, I decided to let go. Later, I joined the exploration project team of the isolated primeval forest. However, I never expected that Mia, who had once hated me to the core, would faint from crying in her wedding dress at the airport where I was about to depart after seeing that divorce agreement. When I returned from the business trip to the bridal chamber and pushed open the door, what greeted my eyes was a mess of clothes scattered all over the floor from the entrance to the bedroom door, and there were sounds of a man and a woman laughing and joking coming from the bathroom. The next second, William came out with his upper body bare, holding Mia, who was wearing a sexy halter top, in his arms. They were walking while closing their eyes and kissing passionately. It was not until Mia caught a glimpse of me out of the corner of her eye that she pushed William away in a panic. "Ethan, you weren't supposed to be back until the day after tomorrow. Why are you back early?" I didn't say anything. William gave me a provocative look and then pretended to be innocent and kind and apologized to me. "Sorry, Ethan. Mia and I were just rehearsing the ceremony for your wedding day just now. Don't get me wrong." At this time, Mia also returned to her usual cold attitude towards me and said confidently, "I asked Brother William to rehearse with me. Who told you that your kissing skills are so bad, like a piece of wood?" She lied to me so calmly, not realizing at all that both she and William had their underwear on backward. I lowered my eyes to hide the sarcasm and mockery in my eyes. "I see. You can continue rehearsing," I said indifferently and turned back to the study. After closing the door, I deliberately suppressed the sourness in my eyes and kept my voice calm as I dialed my tutor's number. "Teacher, I'm willing to join your primeval forest exploration project team." The tutor was very happy, but also worried. "Great. I'll book you a flight to depart in 5 days. But Ethan, you have to think carefully. Once you join this project, you need to stay out of touch with the outside world for 5 years. But your wedding is in 6 days. Will your wife agree to your joining?" Looking at the gloom outside the window, I said softly, "I'm getting a divorce." As soon as the words fell, the door was pushed open. I calmly hung up the phone. Mia, however, was a little suspicious. "What divorce? Who are you talking to?" "A college classmate of mine is getting a divorce." Seeing that I looked natural, Mia stopped suspecting. She and William had already dressed neatly. When I went out, William handed me a gift box. "Ethan, this is a belated birthday present for you." There was obvious disdain and mockery mixed in his smile. I opened the gift box and found that it was actually a shirt made from that bedsheet, and the bloodstains on it were still there. "Do you like it, Ethan? I specially designed this toast suit for you for your wedding." William deliberately lowered his voice and enunciated each word clearly. When Mia saw that shirt, it seemed that she thought of all that happened between her and William last night, and her cheeks turned red. Even her eyes showed a mix of anger and shyness. I expressionlessly picked up that shirt and grabbed a pair of scissors to cut it into pieces. "It's unlucky to have blood stains on a good shirt." I sneered, but Mia was furious. She rushed up to me, snatched the dress, and slapped me hard. "You blind dog." This was specially painted with paint by Brother William. As an internationally renowned designer, he designed clothes for you personally. It's your good fortune. "Sorry, Ethan. If you don't like it, I won't do it again in the future." William, with red eyes, grabbed the angry Mia. He rubbed Mia's palm and said in a low voice, "Mia, don't hurt your hand by slapping. Since Ethan doesn't like me, I won't appear in front of him again in the future." After saying that, He let go of his hand and turned to rush out the door, and Mia also ran out right behind him. The room fell into a deathly silence again. Half an hour later, my sister Evelyn called. "Mom and Dad are being kind enough to make up for your birthday yesterday at William's Restaurant. Get over here." William's Restaurant was a place that my parents had specially built for William when he was 8 years old. Back then, after I was abducted by the nanny, my parents couldn't find me. They adopted William, who was also abducted. William had a sweet tongue and was very likable. Gradually, he replaced me and became my parents' favorite son in their eyes. It wasn't until the 3rd year of junior high school that I was found and brought back by Evelyn's family. But by then, they had already regarded William as a treasure and didn't care much about me, their biological son. Thinking of this, before going out, I put the bank card that Evelyn's family had spent on me over the years, as well as a letter of severance of the parent-child relationship, into a craft paper bag together. When I arrived at the restaurant and pushed open the door, the next second a balloon burst and stinky swill poured down from above my head. "God, how could this happen?" William exclaimed in horror, but a look of shock and fear flashed in his eyes. I knew that it was his doing again, but no one would believe me. So I put the craft paper bag on the seat closest to the door and then turned to leave. But William called out to me, "Ethan, don't go. I don't know who replaced the streamers with swill. But don't worry, the restaurant manager has caught the mastermind behind it." Sure enough, a few minutes later, the restaurant manager dragged over a wretched and skinny waiter. "Mr. William, we caught him. It's him." As soon as he finished speaking, the waiter quickly pointed at me. "He told me to do it. He said he could frame the fake young master at home." He didn't finish. My father kicked me right on the old scar on my lower back. The pain made my face turn pale, and for a moment I didn't even have the strength to stand up. "Beast!" My mother also slapped me. My sister sneered. I said, "Why were you so obedient this time?" "It turns out you had the intention of framing William. Since that's the case, the 5% share that was originally intended for you will all go to William." The waiter felt a little sorry and wanted to tell the truth. "Actually, the real person who hired me is—" William's face changed, and suddenly he began to breathe rapidly. Now everyone's attention was back on him, and no one cared about what the waiter was going to say. "It's all because of this little beast Ethan's bad luck. William's asthma has been triggered again by anger. Hurry up and take him to the hospital." After my mother finished speaking, a group of people helped William and left without looking back. I finally endured the pain in my waist and slowly got up. At this time, my sister pushed the door open to get her bag. I handed her the craft paper bag beside me and said hoarsely, "Give it to my family the day before my wedding. Thank you for your trouble." After finishing the matter, I smelled all over and bought a birthday cake at a nearby cake shop. After taking a shower, I finished the whole cake by myself. 3 days before I left, Mia finally came home, but she just went to work in the study after she came back. Not wanting to sleep in the bed that William had slept in, I moved to the guest room. Unexpectedly, after Mia took a shower, she pushed open the door of the guest room wearing a sexy slip dress. Her soft and charming body gently hugged my waist, and the delicate fragrance instantly enveloped all my senses. "Ethan, let's have a baby. I want to have a dragon baby." There was a hint of seduction in her voice. In fact, when I first returned to Evelyn's family, Mia was very clingy to me. The cute girl in a short skirt would always follow me and call me sweetly, "Brother Ethan." She was very nice to me at that time. She would help me with my English, which I wasn't good at. She would stand up for me when I was bullied by other hooligans. She would even hold my hand at Evelyn's family's party and say to other rich kids, "Brother Ethan is no worse than any of you. You're just showing off because you were born into a good family. What's there to be proud of?" But just as I was gradually falling in love with her, she could only see that I was always bullying William. She hated me more and more. But the arranged marriage between Mia's family and mine forced her to marry me. At that time, I still had a glimmer of hope, thinking that I could touch her heart with my love. But I was wrong. She had never loved me. "I'm not in the mood." I pushed her away and got up to hide in the bathroom. A few minutes later, what greeted me was the sound of Mia slamming the door in anger. I went to the study and saw that Mia's WeChat on the open computer hadn't been logged out. Just a few minutes ago, she had said to William, "William, don't worry. I will definitely find a way to give you a son who can inherit Evelyn's family property." Even though I had mentally prepared myself, I was still deeply hurt by the cruelty and coldness in Mia's words. But she didn't know that a few years ago, I felt sorry for her. I had already undergone a vasectomy operation long ago, but now it seems that it has always been my wishful thinking. After that day, Mia didn't come home again until the day before I left. I completely moved my household registration out of the Evelyn family. But just as I was crossing the road, I was hit by a speeding motorcycle, and even my phone went black. The driver quickly took me to the hospital. Just as I walked out of the ward after being bandaged, I was slapped in the face. Mia's voice was angry and shrill. "Ethan, how dare you not answer my calls now?" I pursed my lips and looked up at her. My phone was broken in the accident. Do you think I'll believe such a clumsy lie of yours? I think you just don't want to donate a kidney to William." She frowned tightly, and her accusing gesture made it seem as if I were a heinous criminal. The family members of the surrounding patients all looked over. My parents and sister also ran over at this time and morally kidnapped me. William is the treasure of our Evelyn family. If it weren't for him kneeling in front of us and begging us to find you back, you would never have been able to live a wealthy life in your entire life. Now, it's time for you to repay the favor. Your blood type is exactly compatible with William's. As long as you donate one of your kidneys to him, we can forgive all the mistakes you've made in the past. My calf that had just been hit was still aching dully, but no one cared why there was a bandage on my leg. They were all urging me to sacrifice myself. "I can't donate," I said hoarsely. "I only have one kidney left." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Mia was even more frozen in place, and she instinctively touched her waist. She had a very serious car accident when she went on a trip with our whole family 2 years ago. It was a kind-hearted person who donated a kidney to her and saved her life. But she didn't believe my words. There was no other way. So I showed them a scar on my lower back. I also went to get a CT scan accompanied by a doctor, and it was confirmed that I only had one kidney left. They finally gave up. In William's ward, my parents were holding their beloved son and wiping their tears. Mia asked me sharply, "What happened to your other kidney?" As soon as she said this, my sister, who had been peeling a pomelo for William, also looked over curiously. She furrowed her brows and said hesitantly, "At that time, the kind-hearted person, because he had type O blood, not only donated a kidney to Mia, but also donated an amount of blood that exceeded the body's tolerance to our whole family." I was a bit dizzy due to the aftereffects of the car accident just now. But William spoke up before me. "Ethan, I can't cover it up for you anymore. You clearly sold that kidney to buy the latest iPhone model." As soon as he said this, the looks in the eyes of the whole family towards me were filled with nothing but disgust and contempt. But they didn't even think about the fact that I had never bought an iPhone from childhood to adulthood. But it didn't matter anymore. "Yeah, he's right. I have something else to do, so I'll be leaving now." I turned around and left, eager to print out the divorce agreement sent by the lawyer. I left in a hurry and didn't see the thoughtful look on the face of the doctor behind me as he stared at me. On the day I left, I sent the divorce agreement to Mia. Then I set off for the airport. It wasn't until I successfully boarded the plane and took my seat that Mia called me and scolded me. "You ran away from home. Ethan, can't you be a bit more mature as a grown man? Just because we wanted you to donate a kidney to brother William, you're playing such tricks. Aren't you disgusting? I'm telling you, you have half an hour to get back here right now." Looking at the clear blue sky outside the window, I chuckled. "I'm not going back." "What?" Mia put the call on speakerphone, and my parents and sister immediately exploded. "You little beast, if you dare to run away from home, you can just die out there. Is Miss Mia here? Here's a package for you." The voice of the courier interrupted them. Mia opened the package. First, she was stunned, and then she shouted at me, "Ethan, you want to divorce me?" At this time, my sister's assistant also entered the ward. "Evelyn, this is what your younger brother asked me to give to you a few days ago." The craft paper bag was opened, and the moment they saw the contents inside, there was a brief silence in the ward. My sister's breathing became obviously rapid. Before she could get angry, she was interrupted by another male voice. I recognized it as the male doctor from yesterday. The male doctor said seriously, "Father Evelyn, the kind-hearted person you've been asking me to find all along is probably your son, Ethan. When that car accident happened, we contacted your adopted son, William, who was studying abroad at the same time. But after he heard the news, he hung up the phone directly. Only Mr. Ethan rushed over in a hurry. He not only paid the surgery fees for you with all his savings. After donating the kidney and blood, he specifically told the nurse not to tell you his identity because you disliked him, and he was worried that if you knew the truth, it would affect your recovery." As soon as his words fell, the whole ward fell into a deathly silence. After almost a minute of silence, Mia and my sister spoke at the same time. "Ethan, where are you?" Mia even apologized in a trembling voice. "I was wrong, Ethan. Please come back. I don't want to divorce you, but it's too late." I chuckled and said, "Mia, from now on, we have nothing to do with each other anymore." After saying that, I hung up the phone, took out the SIM card, and threw it into the trash bag. The plane took off in a timely manner and soared into the sky. The plane landed at the airport closest to the Primeval Forest Exploration Project team. As soon as I walked out of the airport, I saw my senior who had come to pick me up. During my PhD studies in the past, my supervisor had repeatedly advised me to follow him and contribute to the National Botanical Research after graduation. But at that time, I only had Mia in my heart. I was so focused on marrying her that I didn't want to be separated from her at all. Now that I have finally cut off all ties with the past, our entire research group is extremely happy. Even my supervisor, who is almost 60 years old, happily sent more than a dozen red envelopes in a row in the group. My senior trotted over to take my suitcase and said enthusiastically, "Ethan, you're finally here. Our supervisor has been talking about you every day, afraid that you would regret it and stand him up. You know, you're the most talented treasure in our institute." I sat in the back seat of the SUV and felt the fragrance of flowers blowing towards me during the drive. The sky outside the window was as clear as washed, and the bright sunlight dispelled the last trace of darkness in my heart. "Don't worry, Senior. In the future, I will focus on our project." I smiled softly, feeling a great sense of relief. The Research Institute is located in a very remote place, and it took nearly 2 hours to drive there. To ensure the confidentiality of the research, I handed over my phone and all communication devices, and all communication was done using the communication devices issued by the Research Institute. In the Research Institute, I completely devoted myself to scientific research work. I had no idea that the Evelyn family and Mia had almost contacted everyone in their entire circle of friends in order to find me. It wasn't until the Spring Festival a year later that the research results of the Research Institute made a phased breakthrough. My supervisor was extremely happy and gave all the researchers under him a week's vacation. My senior also fell in love. His girlfriend was a young girl who lived in the town. She was my senior's junior schoolmate who had been secretly in love with him for 3 years. She even followed him from Shanghai City to Jen City, thousands of miles away, in order to be with him. We made an appointment to go on vacation to a scenic area in a neighboring city for 2 days. But I never expected I would run into Mia at the scenic area. Or to be more precise, she finally found me. Ethan Yen City was a bit cold in February. Mia was wearing a light-colored trench coat, and her curly hair, which was usually exquisitely styled in big waves, was now coiled up on her head and looked a bit dry. She had no makeup on, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Even her lips were full of dead skin. The moment she saw me, she was first stunned and then stepped back a little in disbelief. Then, as if waking up from a dream, she bit her lower lip nervously, and her eyes immediately turned red. A flattering smile appeared on her face. She wanted to step forward and hold my hand, but she was a bit timid. She could only look up at me with a choked voice and say, "Ethan, I finally found you. Will you come home with me? I know I was wrong. You have no idea how miserable I've been in the past year when I couldn't find you at all." Looking at this belated affection, I remained unmoved and my eyes were clear. I gently pushed her away and said indifferently, "Miss Mia, I remember I made it very clear before I left that I have nothing to do with you anymore. After saying that, I turned around to leave, but Mia wouldn't let me. She threw herself at me with tears in her eyes, hugged my waist, and burst into tears. I don't agree. Husband, we're not divorced yet. I didn't sign that divorce agreement. She almost shouted the last sentence. It shocked the passers-by and made them turn their heads one after another. At this time, my senior and his girlfriend, who had just gone to buy milk tea and came back, were terrified when they saw this scene. Fortunately, my senior knew about my past experiences and quickly reacted. He pulled his girlfriend and helped me block most of the gazes from the passers-by. After all, quite a few passers-by were nosing around, thinking it was a cliched story of a heartless man abandoning his wife. Some of them had already taken out their phones, intending to punish me. I lowered my eyes and sized up Mia, who was completely different from what she was a year ago. A mix of sourness and mockery welled up in my heart. So, we're still not divorced yet. I let out a soft laugh, but my tone turned cold. Then, why did you end up in bed with William? Did you think I didn't know about the Chinese-style wedding you secretly held with him? Mia trembled all over, and then she stiffly raised her head to look at me as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her lips quivered and her eyes were filled with fear and unease. You? How could you possibly? The corners of my mouth curved into a sarcastic smile. Do you really like the sea of lies in that flower garden? I built that flower garden with my own hands for you. I want to give you a surprise after we got married. To accumulate blessings, I let my employees open up one wedding slot per week, but I never expected that the first ones to come would be you and William. As soon as I finished speaking, Mia's once bright eyes were already filled with lifelessness. She mumbled for a long time, but finally didn't say anything. Sorry, Ethan. I was wrong. William, he's not a good person. I was wrong. I really was wrong. As she spoke, she started laughing again. Then, not daring to look at me anymore, she turned around and stumbled away. I retracted my gaze and put away the last trace of pity. This little episode didn't affect our mood until the next day. We wanted to go to the mall to choose a New Year's gift for our supervisor. But unexpectedly, I actually ran into my sister's assistant, Daniel. He was also surprised when he saw me. Mr. Ethan, haven't you gone home yet? I was comparing the functions of two thermos cups. Hearing this, I asked in confusion, why should I go back? Daniel's expression gradually became a bit subtle. He rubbed his fingers. After struggling for a while, he finally let out a sigh and explained to me, your family has had some trouble since you left. After your parents and sister found out the truth about the car accident back then, they started investigating the things they had wrongly accused you of, despite William's opposition. As a result, they not only found out that all the things you were accused of doing after you were brought back home were framed by William, but they also found out that William was colluding with outsiders to steal the company's secrets. As soon as this matter came to light, your father fainted on the spot. Later, it was found out that he had a stroke. Your mother also suffered a heart attack because she couldn't accept the blow. Your sister's hair turned white overnight, but she gritted her teeth and held on. However, when William saw that things were exposed, he fled and has still not been caught. I'm here this time because I received a clue provided by the informant saying that William might have fled to the border with embezzled money. Daniel became more and more sighing as he spoke, but when he saw my calm and indifferent eyes, he was instantly stunned. I looked at him and said calmly, Daniel, I have already signed the letter of severance of the parent-child relationship with the Evelyn family. From now on, I have nothing to do with them. Please don't tell me these things in the future. After saying that, I turned around and left. Daniel stood behind me, hesitating and struggling for a long time. In the end, he could only sigh helplessly in a place where I couldn't see. He returned to the corner outside the store and reported to the woman in front of him, who looked young but had a head of white hair. Evelyn, you saw it too. Mr. Ethan, he doesn't want to go back to the Evelyn family anymore. Evelyn's eyes were red, filled with regret and helplessness. She whispered in a trembling voice, it's all my fault. If we hadn't been so biased and had treated him better after Ethan came back home, maybe things wouldn't have ended up like this. It's all our fault. We brought this upon ourselves. I didn't know what happened behind me, but my mood was still affected to some extent. When I got back to the hotel, I took a shower and fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I seemed to have returned to the day I was brought back to the Evelyn family. I was thin and dark-skinned. Compared with William, who was wearing an exquisite suit, I was like a rustic bumpkin. My parents and sister didn't look at me with much tolerance. Even in their seemingly kind eyes, there was a faint trace of disdain. At first, they felt sorry for me because I had been living outside for more than 10 years, so they didn't say anything. However, whenever William and I were in the same room, and William got injured later on, the way they looked at me changed. So, in the second year of junior high school, I was driven from the master bedroom on the third floor of the Evelyn family's villa to a narrow utility room on the first floor just because they caught me cutting up William's coat on his birthday. In the first year of high school, I was forced to transfer from the key class to the last place in the ordinary class, just because William accidentally found evidence of my cheating in my school bag. My parents, in order to prove their impartiality as members of the high school board of directors, decided to deprive me of the opportunity to study in the key class and let me study in the worst class. In the second year of high school, the whole school knew that I was the unfavored biological son of the Evelyn family. Even though William was an adopted son, he would still be the heir of the Evelyn family in the future. So my nightmare began. My books would always go missing inexplicably and then turn up in the trash can. There were always strange insects or terrifying snakes in my seat. I was also pestered by hooligans outside the school, extorted for money or beaten up. The Evelyn family knew all about this, but they didn't believe that I was innocent. The first thing William said after falling down the stairs in front of me was, "Ethan, stop bullying your classmates. I don't want to cover it up for you anymore." It wasn't until the end of the college entrance examination that I finally escaped from that hell. At the end of the dream, I returned to the Evelyn family as a child again. This time, the members of the Evelyn family who saw me for the first time were extremely excited. My parents had red eyes from crying, and my sister even wanted to come forward and hug me. "Sorry, Ethan. We were wrong. We're late." But as a child, I gently pushed them away and said softly, "But I don't plan to forgive you." After saying that, I turned around and ran towards the door, ignoring the desperate calls and pleas for me to stay behind me. I ran towards the door faster and faster. The wind whistled in my ears, and the sunlight shone on me. It was warm and pleasant. For years later, our project was finally completely finished. With a generous bonus and remuneration, I stayed in Den City and bought a house, planning to live in this beautiful city with a fresh atmosphere. Just after I bought the house, I received a call from Daniel. He said in a hoarse voice, "Mr. Ethan, please go home. Your father left all the company's shares to you before he passed away. You need to come back and go through the formalities." 5 years had passed. I didn't want to have any more involvement with them, but this was related to life and death. The hatred in my heart had also faded a lot. When I returned to the Evelyn family, I was surprised to find that many of the original decorations in the house had been changed. Most of them had actually become things related to me. The ceramic cups that I made for my parents and sister with my own hands in the second year of junior high school, which were later broken by them, were now glued back together and displayed. My junior and senior high school report cards were framed and hung in the most prominent position. And in the original family photo, where I wasn't in it, William had been removed and replaced with me. It was ironic. When I wasn't around, there were traces of me everywhere in the house. When she saw me appear, my sister hurried downstairs to see me. "Brother," she called me in surprise. But when she met my gaze, she didn't dare to say anything more. As if afraid that I would leave again, she struggled for a moment and then gently persuaded me. "Mom, go and see Mom. She's not in good health." Hearing this, I didn't say anything. I went upstairs to see my mother. She had lost a lot of weight. Her whole body was buried in the thick quilt, and the cheeks that were exposed were so sunken that there was no flesh left. The moment she saw me, tears welled up in her originally cloudy eyes. She seemed to want to struggle to get up, but was bound by the tubes inserted all over her body. In the end, she could only lean weakly against the bedside. She softly called out to me, "Ethan, my son, Mom and Dad are sorry for you." She finally said this belated apology, but I didn't need it anymore. I raised my hand to wipe the tears from my eyes, averted my gaze, and turned around to leave. My sister chased after me. She frowned and admonished me. Brother, I know you hate us. We don't ask for your forgiveness, but William still hasn't been caught. I heard that he embezzled 10 million yuan from our family and fled to the border, but he was tricked into a criminal compound. He was severely tortured. It seems that he was disfigured and had his kidney removed. But recently, I heard that he has fled back to the country. You have to be careful of his revenge. I nodded and left. Since I was already home, I took the opportunity to go back to the Welfare Institute where I lived before I was brought back to the Evelyn family. There were a lot of people in the Welfare Institute today. Many volunteers were distributing vegetables to the children. I have been donating money to the Welfare Institute for several years. Now the Welfare Institute is clean and tidy, and the children are served nutritionally balanced meals. My original intention was to find the director of the Welfare Institute and give another sum of money. However, I never expected that the person in charge of the volunteers would be Mia. She had lost a lot of weight. Her originally beautiful long hair had been cut into a neat short style. She had tanned and didn't look as good as before. There was a hideous scar on her delicate face. When she saw me, she instinctively covered her face. After a moment, her eyes turned red again. She was crying quietly and looking vulnerable. I handed her a tissue. Thank you. She didn't expect that my attitude towards her had improved a lot, and she seemed flattered. She put away the tissue and casually wiped her tears with her sleeve, saying self-deprecatingly, "Maybe it's my retribution." My family went bankrupt because William tricked me into investing in his company, and then he stole the confidential information of the Evelyn family. After things were exposed, he embezzled all the money. Our family was already on the verge of bankruptcy and was also implicated in such a scandal. We went bankrupt that very month. She touched the scar on her face again, filled with regret. Later, we found out that William wasn't abducted at all. He was the biological son of the nanny who abducted you. After you left, he knew he couldn't stay in the Evelyn family anymore, so he fled. We've been looking for him, and the police have been hunting him down. When I went to Jin City and met you that year, I was trying to find him. I had actually tricked him into meeting me, but he was too alert and discovered my intention. Before he left, he had a quarrel with me and deliberately scratched my face. He said that he would never let others have the things he couldn't get. He's such a disgusting person. It's all my fault for being so stupid. I just realized it now. This is the price of misjudging someone. I won't feel sorry for her. After leaving the bank card in the director's office, I quietly left and took a taxi to the airport. Maybe I was too tired, so I fell into a deep sleep as soon as I got in the car. When I woke up again, I found that the scenery outside the car was extremely unfamiliar. Even the road became rough and bumpy. Looking at the somewhat familiar profile of the driver, I was suddenly jolted awake only to find that my whole body was weak. There was some kind of drug in the car. William, my voice was hearing my voice. William turned around with a sneer, glanced at me, and warned me in a hoarse voice, "There's a bomb in the car. If you dare to call the police, I'll detonate the bomb and we'll all die together." I asked him coldly, "You ended up in this situation and it has nothing to do with me." But he sneered, "Who asked you to be the biological child of the Evelyn family? Even if they like me more, you're still the one most qualified to inherit the family business. What's more, now all their attention is on you. You've taken everything from me, and now you want me to let you go." I saw that 3 fingers were missing from his right hand, and his once handsome face was covered with dense small scars. He looked terrifying and ferocious. I didn't say anything more. He drove on with a dark face. The car finally stopped downstairs at an abandoned factory. He pulled me out. My legs were still weak, and I didn't have the strength to resist at all. He and 2 other men hung me up, and then they took a video of my miserable state and sent it to the Evelyn family and Mia. Within 2 hours, they demanded, "Come and meet me with 10 million yuan, or I'll kill him." In less than an hour, my sister Evelyn and Mia both arrived. But when he saw that they had really come, William became even more insane. He held a knife and roared at them. "Why? Why did you love me for 20 years? But then you turned around and fell in love with this beast? Ethan? Evelyn, just because I didn't donate a kidney or blood to you, you abandoned me. And you, Mia, You've liked me for 10 years. You've been by my side for 10 years. You even said you'd have a baby for me. And you even gave me your first night. Why don't you love me anymore? Ethan is just a useless loser. Why does he deserve your love? William had been driven crazy by the wandering life in the past few years. He stared at me viciously and then at the two women in front of him who had once held him in the palm of their hands. He couldn't accept falling to the same state I had been in before, nor could he believe that he had become a despised outcast. I did care about you once because you were my younger brother, innocent and kind. But Ethan is also my younger brother, my sister said in a hoarse voice, her tone slow but firm. You shouldn't have framed my biological younger brother just to gain favor. You brought all this upon yourself. Mia then slowly stepped forward, ignoring the drastic change in William's expression. She let his knife press against her chest. The thing I regret the most in my life is hurting the man who has loved me for 10 years because of you. You stole the love that Ethan should have received for 10 years under false pretenses. Everything that's happening to you now is what you deserve. As soon as she finished speaking, William's psychological defenses completely collapsed. He shouted and stabbed the knife into Mia's chest. In an instant, blood spurted out. At the same time, the police appeared from all directions. They subdued William and the other kidnappers on the spot. I held Mia, who was covered in blood, and tried to press on the wound to stop the bleeding, but she held my hands with both of hers, raised her head, and gave me a relieved and bright smile. She fainted from crying in her wedding dress at the airport where I was about to depart. 3 days later, Mia died despite the rescue efforts. Half a month later, William committed suicide in the detention center. Half a year later, my mother passed away due to a heart attack, and the Evelyn family declared bankruptcy. On the day I left, my sister came to see me off. Brother, take good care of yourself in the future. She choked back her tears and said, You don't have to come back anymore. I looked at her in silence. After a moment, I said softly, Goodbye, sister. Hearing this, she was stunned for a moment, and then she burst into tears. I turned around and walked through the airport security gate. This was farewell in this life.